returned alone from Huxing City to the experimental base of Suhao in the city of Temple Forest. As soon as he landed, he saw Boss Wei already waiting in the courtyard. Yashin immediately approached joyfully saying, "Boss Wei. Good news." Suhao waved his hand, summoning a diamond table and chairs from the ground. Suhao took the lead and sat down, gesturing, "Sit down and speak slowly." Following his advice, Yashin sat down and said, "The first batch of students from the Wei Institute, Huxing branch." Just as he began speaking, Yashin suddenly stopped and looked around. He felt that speaking like this wasn't appropriate. Suddenly he realized, "Boss Wei, please wait for a moment, I'll be right back." Of course, without a table of good food, the conversation felt dry. Suhao was momentarily stunned, then couldn't help but smile. Indeed, it had been a while since he had a good meal, so he decided to wait. Soon, a table full of hot food was ready by Yashin. After both of them had their fill, they resumed the earlier conversation. Yashin continued, "Boss Wei, our first batch of students, a total of 200 participated in the first evolution trial. 130 successfully evolved in the experimental mutant beast zone, 18 withdrew, and the rest have already perished. Our expectations have been met, and everyone in the Temple Forest Association has seen it all. There's no longer any doubt about the innovative century project we propose." Suhao casually said, "That's good. Although the mortality rate is a bit high." Yashin replied, "It's a bit high, but for others this mortality rate isn't considered high. Evolution into mutants itself carries a high risk. When choosing to become mutant students, they've already weighed life and death for themselves. Moreover, for them to have this opportunity, it's a great thing. Now many people are eager to join the mutant class." Suhao suggested, "As long as everyone can accept it, that's the best outcome. However, I have a suggestion. If we form groups of 3 or 5 children to participate in the trials, the survival rate will significantly increase." A lightning bolt of realization struck Yashan's mind, making him suddenly enlightened. He slapped his thigh and exclaimed, "Why didn't I think of that? Upstate from N0/Bay/Elbin/Go/M. Currently, the Temple Forest Association is thrilled with the success of the first trial, with no one considering how to increase the survival rate." Yashin proposed, starting from the next session, all trial students will participate in groups of 3. Following this, Yashin added, "Boss Wei, the 2 super mutant beast zones we partitioned have been completely established and are confirmed to be very safe. We can start releasing mutants inside. We have 2 options for releasing mutants. One is to release mutants of the same sequence in one super mutant beast zone, dividing them into 8 major zones corresponding to 8 sequences. The second option is a mixed release with different focuses. After a unanimous decision by the Temple Forest Association, we've chosen a mixed release with different emphases. Boss Wei, what do you think?" Suhao nodded, "Either is fine." Yashin proposed, "Boss Wei, should we go and have a look at the completed super mutant beast zones?" Suhao thought it might be prudent to personally inspect the area to avoid any oversights. So he said, "Let's go then." Both were decisive individuals, and off they went. Transforming into Child of Fate, they swiftly ascended into the air, flying rapidly toward the distant location. This super mutant beast zone was truly immense, occupying an area almost as large as the territory of the Du country. However, in the context of the entire world, it seemed insignificant. The extensive boundary tree forest extended to the limits of their vision, with a width of over 10,000 meters as observed from high altitude. Suhao randomly selected a spot, descended, stood on a branch of a boundary tree, infused it with blood essence and reported the tree's information. He immediately had Little Light analyze the gene structure of the boundary tree. Little Light quickly produced the result, respected Mr. Suhao genetic comparison result, suitable for cultivating descendant boundary trees and can function normally. Suhao took flight again, tracing the boundary tree forest, intermittently analyzing the genetic makeup of individual trees. It took them a full 2 days to circle the super mutant beast zone. After landing on a high peak within the zone, Suhao praised, "You've done a great job with this, Yashin. There are no issues with the boundary trees. And the area of this super mutant beast zone is spacious enough to accommodate mutants of all levels, forming an entirely new ecosystem." Yashin, feeling a bit embarrassed, chuckled, "If Boss Wei hadn't initially advised me to designate a larger area, I might still be guarding that small experimental mutant beast zone. Now I truly understand what Boss Wei meant. An organization's achievements depend on the vision and breadth of its top leadership. It's indeed true." Suhao remarked, "No one is naturally wise, it's through experiences and exposure to various situations that one learns these truths. For the subsequent super mutant beast zones, let's follow this size as the standard. I'll make it clear now, they must be larger than here, never smaller." Yashin quickly replied, "Understood, Boss Wei." Suhao added, "Yashin, since we've chosen this path, many things must be guarded against. You should know that destruction is always easier than construction. Now let me ask you a question. If someone intentionally damages your boundary tree forest, causing the mutants inside to escape, what would you do?" This question left Yashin bewildered. Yashin didn't foolishly ask, why would anyone want to destroy it? Because he wasn't young anymore, no longer naive. At over 50 years old, Yashin understood not to underestimate the evil within people. As time unfolds, there will inevitably be individuals, for various reasons, choosing to destroy the boundary trees and release the mutants inside. If all 8 major super mutant beast zones were simultaneously destroyed, it would be a lethal blow to the Juhua society. After seriously considering for a while, Yashin shook his head and said, "Boss Wei, no matter how I think, I can't come up with a solution. As long as someone intentionally destroys, we are powerless to stop it. We can only repair after the damage, impossible to always deploy a large number of personnel to guard the boundary area." Suhao said, "So in the future, there will be more of these little problems. Gradually, you'll realize that every seemingly small problem, in handling, is quite tricky and to some extent unsolvable." Yashin nodded, "Indeed, I've deeply experienced this over these years. Boss Wei, what should we do if someone intentionally damages the boundary?" Suhao pointed to the extensive boundary trees in front of them and said, "Yashin, when you see these extensive boundary trees surrounding the mutant beast zone, do you think that the boundary trees are the key to confining the mutants?" Yashin nodded. Exactly, that's the first reaction. Suhao smiled. Why do you think that way? Yashin pondered for a moment and then said, it just seems obvious. Suhao continued, what if I plant different types of trees inside and outside the boundary trees? Yashin was puzzled. Then I think it's the result of these different trees. Suhao explained, I've not only planted various trees but also drawn patterns resembling runes within a certain range inside the boundary trees. Yashin gradually understood Suhao's meaning. Suhao chuckled and pointed outside the boundary trees. What if I not only planted different trees and drew runes, but also deliberately created some scattered, non-functional gaps in the boundary trees? Yashin immediately responded, then I definitely wouldn't think it's the boundary trees blocking the mutants. I'd focus on the runes as the cause of the damage. Suhao concluded, exactly. Regardless of what we do, your aim is to divert everyone's attention away from the boundary trees, turning them into the most inconspicuous species outside the mutant beast zone. Suhao turned to Yashin and said, so Yashin, go fabricate a lie. Create one that everyone in the world will believe. Let everyone take this lie as the truth, imprint it deep within their souls. As long as it deceives, keep deceiving. Yashin was overwhelmed by Suhao's words, but the stimulating feeling of deceiving the whole world followed. He excitedly blushed and exclaimed, I understand, Boss Wei. Suhao nodded in satisfaction. Yashin then asked, but Boss Wei, how can we deceive the entire world? Suhao nearly spat out blood. It seemed like what he just said was in vain. Yashin appeared genuinely innocent. He couldn't deceive one or two people, let alone deceive the entire world. End of this chapter. Diamonds are forever, and forever they will be passed on. This is a very classic example. When that clear and translucent gemstone is given another layer of meaning by people, its value becomes immeasurable. Why does everyone willingly believe that diamonds are eternal? It's because they believe not in the diamond itself, but in the sincere love. And Suha's method of deceiving the world through Yashin is simple. Publish a textbook or the autobiography of God of Genesis, telling that the mutant beast zone exists naturally, emanating an energy from the depths of the earth, keeping the mutant beast within a certain area. Using a first-person perspective, depict the great exploration journey of the God of Genesis and the great discoveries. Most importantly, disguise the boundary tree well. Change the name of the boundary tree and plant it everywhere. In 10 or 20 years, when people form a consensus, this lie will be unbreakable. No one will think of breaking the boundary of the mutant beast zone by destroying the boundary tree. Instead, their focus will be on the seemingly groundless natural energy from the depths of the earth. After listening to Suha's description, Yashin couldn't help but ask Boss Wei, many people already know about the boundary tree. Suha helplessly replied, are you silly? If they know, they know. Next, find an opportunity to slip up, admitting that you've deceived everyone, and that the mutant beast zone and the boundary tree are completely unrelated. When this piece of gossip spreads, hold a meeting, publicly reveal the great discoveries of the God of Genesis, and let them guess slowly. Over time, it will be hard to distinguish truth from falsehood. Yashin suddenly understood. Suha continued, Yashin, there are many intelligent people, but there are even more ordinary people who won't think that much. Your position is high enough and your prestige is strong enough, whatever you say they'll believe. Once these people form a consensus, even intelligent individuals can be misled. Let time handle everything. We can deceive for as long as possible, future generations will have their ways, and that's beyond our control. Indeed, Boss Wei seemed unstoppable in this world. Yashin, filled with admiration, nodded to indicate understanding. Boss Wei, I understand what to do. Moments later, Yashin added, Boss Wei, our Temple Forest Association is ready. Next, we will gradually and officially invite the 7-level mutants from Elephant Emperor Shozhong, Gukun Jinshi, and Zaiwei, the 5 cities, to visit our mutant beast zone. Then we'll extend an alliance invitation, and if they refuse, we'll directly start a war. Suhao asked, are you sure? Yashin clenched his fist and slowly replied, Boss Wei, I have absolute confidence in my own strength. Within my rotating Vajra domain, mere 7-level mutants are nothing. Moreover, it might not necessarily result in a war. I'll try to resolve things peacefully as much as possible. The destructive power of 7-level mutants is too great, and unless absolutely necessary, we won't easily initiate a war. Suhao nodded, go ahead and do it. Forge a new era for your dream with your own hands. But then Yashin hesitated, however, Boss Wei, there are quite a few 7-level mutants from the 5 cities. If we can't come to an agreement and they unite against us, I'm afraid I won't be a match. At that time, I'll need your help. Suhao assured, don't worry about that. Let's go. Let's go back. The two leapt into the sky and quickly disappeared. Discover new chapters at novel.com. After returning to Temple Forest City, Suhao pondered and felt that something was amiss. Although Yashin fervently promised that he could easily handle the individual 7-level mutants from other cities, the abilities of these individuals were incredibly mysterious, and each had developed different powers, leading to potential risks. If Yashin were to accidentally die, Suhao would lack a key figure in controlling the Temple Forest Association, and finding a replacement with enough prestige would be challenging and inconvenient. After careful consideration, Suhao decided to give Yashin an insurance policy, simultaneously using Yashin as the first human test subject in the pinball space. Suha's focus is on conducting a human experiment, while ensuring an insurance for Yashin is just secondary. Suha called Yashin to his lab and said, Yashin, close your eyes and lie down. I need to conduct a small experiment. Without any hesitation, Yashin lay down and closed his eyes as instructed. Suha continued later, I'll infuse blood chi into your brain. Completely relax and don't resist. Yashin nodded, saying, okay, Boss Wei. Observing Yashin lying down, Suha's thoughts raced. He had to understand the mechanics of the pinball space, which was certain. Otherwise, he'd always have an underlying unease. Conducting numerous experiments was the most direct means to unravel the mechanism of the pinball space. He had a premonition that, over time, the pinball space would inevitably change hands and eventually he would perish. All his efforts would become someone else's asset. Thus, he needed to daringly experiment and cautiously confirm to thoroughly understand the principles behind consciousness information and the pinball space. Only by mastering the entire pinball space could it truly belong to him, beyond anyone's control. Only then could he achieve true eternity. Looking at Yashin quietly lying there waiting for the experiment, Suha contemplated. He had been with Yashin for nearly 30 years, understanding everything on his mind. In this world, Yashin was the only person he could truly trust. Yashin wasn't too bright, not too complex in thought, and had a tendency to be stubborn, but he had immense trust in his boss Wei, almost to a fault. He was just a bit timid and afraid of death. For Suha, having such a person as his first human test subject couldn't be more suitable. Even if something uncontrollable occurred, Suha could use his long-standing authority to control and suppress him. Using any other test subject wouldn't be as effective if something went wrong. The direction things would take remained unknown. Regarding using a small round rat for experimentation. The small round rat's experiment was only preliminary. A less intelligent small round rat, even if the experiment succeeded, wouldn't represent much. A human with strong thinking abilities in experiments was imperative and persuasive, something that needed to be done. After confirming the readiness of the black room, Suha placed his hand on Yashan's forehead, slowly inputting blood chi until saturation. And Yashan's consciousness information was successfully recorded. After withdrawing the blood chi, Suha asked Yashan, "Do you feel anything unusual?" Yashan shook his head after a moment's thought and replied, "Initially it felt very comfortable, then a bit dizzy, but now there's nothing amiss." Suha nodded and said, "All right Yashan, you can leave. Go back to Huxiang and handle your affairs. Don't disturb me for the next 2 months. Arrange for someone to manage the experimental base." Yashan nodded. "Understood, Boss Wei. This time back, I'll properly devise the plan for the alliance with the 5 cities." After Yashan left, Suha immediately entered the pinball space and looked at the small black room where Yashan's consciousness information was recorded. Inside the small compartment, Yashan's image lay still without any movement. The system report had already started to relay the recording results. Successfully recorded Yashan's brain information, independently segmented consciousness information, isolated within the small black room, current authority level 1, and all perception has been blocked. Based on consciousness information fluctuations, Yashan hasn't noticed anything abnormal. Suha breathed a long sigh of relief, feeling a weight lift from his heart. The small black room plan is a success. Even if a new consciousness accidentally enters the pinball space, my small black room will block it, making the space imperceptible. As for Yashan's consciousness, it will remain confined within the small black room. Suha would continue observing the dynamics of Yashan's consciousness information, collecting data, and further strengthening and perfecting the functionality of the small black room until it became unbreakable. Suha wouldn't easily relinquish even a bit of authority, not even to those closest to him. Himself entirely to perfecting the little black room function. He was determined to transform this feature into the strongest firewall within the pinball space. This included functions such as permission management, information blocking, consciousness erasure, consciousness modification, thought restriction, and more. He aimed to ensure absolute safety within the pinball space. During these 2 years, Suha conducted numerous experiments, ultimately confirming the high stability and better than expected functionality of his little black room. Yashin, unaware of his life hanging by a thread, was oblivious to it all. The subjects of Suha's experiments were individuals among the Juhua people, who were prepared for execution. Unfortunately, it was currently only confirmed that the little black room was effective against individuals with average consciousness abilities. Whether it would work on the legendary beings possessing divine consciousness required further experiments in the future. However, for now, there was a certain level of assurance bringing a sense of relief to Suha. With the accumulation of his knowledge, he continued to enhance the little black room, aiming for a day when it could confine all conscious entities and ensure his safety. At the age of 32, Suha appeared extremely mature, exuding a charismatic uncle charm to the fullest. With a slightly wistful stubble, tall and straight stature, and wise eyes. Suha first checked the progress of the simulation of the god gene, which had already reached a success rate of 90%. Following this success rate, Suha could basically smoothly evolve into the legendary god of the mutant race. Wait a little longer, hold steady. Let's plan after the success rate reaches above 99%. After all, a 10% failure rate isn't low. Suha suppressed the urge to evolve. Then Suha instructed Little Light, report the current dynamics of the Temple Forest Association. Little Light's voice immediately responded, respected Mr. Suha, here are the 7 main pieces of information for your review. 1. The power of the Temple Forest Association has currently designated the Anliang city area as under its rule, establishing a very stable top-down structure. 2. The Temple Forest Association is currently implementing the Way Education Institute in cities within its entire scope of influence, establishing a class for aliens with each cohort tentatively enrolling between 100 to 200 alien students. 3. The first all-mutant martial arts competition was successfully held outside the Huxiang city, limited to aliens below level 5, divided into 5 arenas, with each level crowning a champion. 4. The Great Exploration of the God of Genesis has been printed and distributed in a quantity of 1 million copies for sale and promotion in various locations. 5. The Mutan Beast Zone's boundary tree has been renamed Zamu, the boundary has been successfully renovated, and it's currently operating well. 6. Contact has been established with the 5 cities. The response from the ancient city is positive, with representatives coming to inspect and express alliance intentions. However, the Temple Forest Association suspects possible deception and information probing. The remaining 4 cities have strong and varied alliances, but currently show no intention to ally with the Temple Forest City. Your favorite stories on n/o/ve/elbin.com. 7. The Temple Forest Association is currently fully prepared and ready to take over the remaining 5 cities at any time. Yashin has formed an advanced alien team and plans to visit the Elephant Emperor City tomorrow. The information mentioned above is not a report from Yashin to Suha, but rather information received by Suha through Yashin, automatically summarized by Little Light. After successfully replicating Yashan's consciousness information into the pinball space, Suha discovered a miraculous use of Yashin. Yashin acted like a detector, capable of recording all gathered information within the pinball space. Everything seen, heard, smelled, or felt could be recorded. Suhao only needed to review this recorded information to know everything that happened to Yashin. In other words, at this moment, Yashin acted as another pair of eyes for Suhao, eyes that could ignore spatial distances. However, Suhao had no interest in investigating Yashin's private life. He directly instructed Little Light to organize the information obtained from Yashin and periodically report the progress of important matters to him. Suhao once again observed the status of the little black room and, finding no anomalies, exited the pinball space. He pushed open the door of the laboratory and entered a separate breeding room where several golden-eyed eagles were being raised, recently brought to his experimental base. Suhao reached out and seized one of the golden-eyed eagles, and in an instant, its consciousness rushed into the eagle's brain. He recorded its consciousness information into the pinball space and confined it in the little black room. Then Suhao flicked his hand, tossing the eagle into the air. Initially disoriented upon regaining freedom, the eagle quickly realized its newfound liberty. It adjusted its posture, vigorously flapped its wings, and soared into the sky. The eagle let out a long cry and gradually flew away. The remaining eagles in the cage, witnessing this, became restless, flapping their wings in agitation. However, to their disappointment, the person before them did not set them free, but instead closed the cage and leisurely returned to the laboratory. When Suhao realized that Yashin could become his second pair of eyes, many ideas emerged. If Yashin could serve as his scouting eye, then other creatures could as well. The key was that there was no limit to the consciousness information recorded within the pinball space. As long as it was confined in the little black room, as much recording as desired was possible. In other words, if the recorded consciousness of creatures was sufficient, he could even stay in the laboratory and observe everything happening in the world. It's like a mobile scout guard in League of Legends. Just thinking about it feels terrifying. He truly was like a deity, overlooking the world. Suhao entered the pinball space, observed the consciousness of the golden-eyed eagle, found no anomalies, and instructed Little Light to project the scenes the eagle had seen into the air. The scenes the golden-eyed eagle had witnessed appeared above the little black room. The land, a mix of yellow and green with its mountains, rivers, and vegetation, was all displayed. Even the hopping rabbits in the forest and the slowly slithering snakes on tree branches could be seen. The visual capability of the golden-eyed eagle is exceptionally powerful. Let's try controlling the golden-eyed eagle remotely through the little black room. That's Suha's experimental objective for today. Suha had previously collected the brainwave signals controlling the eagle's body. Now he instructed Little Light to emit these signals into the consciousness information of the golden-eyed eagle. Fold wings. The electrical signal instantly entered the consciousness of the golden-eyed eagle. Simultaneously, while soaring high, the eagle felt a momentary daze and obediently folded its wings. Its entire body followed a parabolic trajectory downwards. Golden-eyed eagle. Did it just think of folding its wings to descend? No, it didn't. However, for the golden-eyed eagle, this was merely a minor scene. It quickly spread its wings again, gently flapping and stabilizing its form, soaring back into the sky. Reduce speed pause. Before the eagle's consciousness could react, its body had already acted. Its wings spread wide, causing the body to stand upright against the wind resistance, abruptly slowing its speed. Golden-eyed eagle. Did it think of stopping just now? No, it didn't. Meanwhile, in the Temple Forest City laboratory, Suha raised a faint smile and calmly stated success. Carrying a long rifle, Yashin led the way out of Huxiang City, followed by two individuals, one being Mingzi Mengchuan and the other Chan Xiaoxi. These three individuals were the team heading for the Elephant Emperor City. All three were level 7 aliens, straightforward and brutal. For many years, they had discussed the matter over and over. The envoy dispatched numerous times, and if the other party remained unmoved, then resorting to fists became the only solution. The senior members of the Temple Forest Association bid them a distant farewell, anticipating the triumphant return of the three. No one doubted the success of this mission to the Elephant Emperor City. After all, Yashin himself had personally taken charge, success was certain. Except for Yashin himself. In reality, Yashin wasn't entirely confident. However, during moments of confusion, he always recalled the earnest advice of Wei Lao. Yashin, firstly discern who is a friend and who is an enemy. Then, when handling things, the results will be doubly effective. If you can't figure it out, it's okay. We can use a slightly rougher method. Accomplishing the task makes them a friend, failing makes them an enemy. Thinking about this, Yashin understood what he needed to do. If the other side cooperated and formed an alliance with the Temple Forest Association, things would work out, and everyone would be friends. If they refused or ignored, it meant the task had failed, and they would be considered enemies. Yashin knew how to deal with enemies. Furthermore, he had absolute confidence in his abilities. In this world, besides Wei Lao, who could match him? Yashin was second to none. When Yashin was on his mission to Elephant Emperor City, Suha paid some attention and then ignored him. If you ask why Suha didn't personally take action to eliminate all level 7 mutants in the major cities at once, given some time, he could indeed do it. However, Suha mentioned that he also has things to do. If everything requires his intervention, running around the world, what use would the Temple Forest Association have? It would be easier to disband it early. Moreover, to innovate this century, it's not him, Suha, but Yashin. Suha only provides some ideas and suggestions while doing his own experiments, achieving mutual benefits. As for the final state of the Temple Forest Association, it's not something Suha can care about. He's just a little genius seeking knowledge now, finding it difficult to allocate so much energy to fuss over the grand plans of the Temple Forest Association. The key is that the Temple Forest Association may not appreciate his straightforward problem-solving approach. When things are done, a bunch of people will come out to point fingers at him. Why bother? It's better to let them do it themselves. Success or failure doesn't matter. As for him, staying behind the scenes and quietly observing the development of things is sufficient. Without experiencing some difficulties and hardships, victories will never be cherished. Especially for Yashin, the innovative century project is what he needs to do. Suhao is only responsible for providing ideas, but ultimately it's up to Yashin to get this done. Let him experience the ups and downs of the process of achieving success. And as the big boss of Yashin, he will only act when it's crucial, like Yashan's request for his help when a few people are in need of the leader's assistance. So Suhao just needs to wait. Yashin and Mingzi Mengchuan flew in the sky, while Changzi wrapped himself into a cocoon and hung under Yashan's wings. Mingzi Mengchuan pointed ahead, saying, Yashin boss, the Elephant Emperor city is not far ahead. Should we land now? Yashin squinted and looked into the distance, where a city was vaguely visible, standing amidst the mountains, with a river flowing beside it towards the south. Yashin nodded, let's land first. After the three stabilized themselves, Mengchuan returned to his normal form and asked Yashin boss, what's next? Should we enter the city directly? Yashin replied, Mengchuan, tell me more about the news of the Elephant Emperor city. Mengchuan nodded, understood Yashin boss. According to the information gathered, the Elephant Emperor city has 4 level 7 mutants Rongzi Qianglai, Suzimomo, Jingskon and Mingzi Talon. They respectively lead major factions in the city, and these 4 factions have clear boundaries, but they restrain themselves and haven't clashed yet. Even if a fight breaks out, they move outside the city to avoid chaos. Our people have made contact with them, but none of the faction leaders believe us. They see us as a rival faction playing conspiracies. We almost didn't make it back. In summary, the Elephant Emperor city is the most easily solvable city currently because it lacks unity. The Temple Forest Association suggests to align with 1 or 2 factions to eliminate the others. Once the Elephant Emperor city unifies, we, the Temple Forest Association, will sign an alliance agreement and combine forces to develop a new world. Yashin carefully listened and nodded. What's the suggestion from the Temple Forest Association? Mengchuan scratched his head, took out a booklet from his bag, flipped through it, and said, the suggestion from the Temple Forest Association is to align with Suzimomo and Mingzi Talon to take down the other 2. The method suggested is, if you're unwilling to ally with us to take down the other faction, then we'll ally with the other faction to take you down. Yashin fell into silence. Under Changzi Ash's indifferent face, there were signs of muscles twitching. Yashin said, who came up with this bad idea? Mengchuan replied, it seems to be Gailey. Yashin commented, I knew it was that guy's twisted idea, he's really heartless. Mengchuan continued, the Temple Forest Association also speculated that these level 7 mutants in the major cities might have secretly united, but the authenticity of the information is uncertain. Shall we proceed according to the suggestion? Yashin waved his hand and walked ahead with vigor. Of course, we'll follow what was said. Ash followed in silence, while Mengchuan thought for a moment, put away the notebook and quickly caught up. Find updates on no/Velbing.com. After entering the city, the 3 split up. Yashin went to find Mingzi Talon, Mengchuan approached the Suzimomo, and Ash was in charge of coordination. 2 days later, the 3 reunited. Yashin looked visibly upset because Mingzi Talon didn't listen to a word he said, and was eventually kicked out. Yashin was about to explode on the spot. He truly wanted to go and take down Mingzi Talon. However, Mengchuan appeared quite pleased and said, Yashin boss, my side went very smoothly. Suzimomo, that woman who seemed fierce, was surprisingly easy to talk to. After hearing me out, she agreed to ally with us to take down the others. How about your side, Yashin boss? Yashin patted Mengchuan's back and praised, you're really something. Looking good indeed, can make Suzy take notice. I won't even mention my side, that guy is definitely not our friend. I'll take care of him personally. Mengchuan felt a bit hesitant. Yashin boss, we've only recruited 1 person so far. Should we try to find others? Yashin waved his hand, 1 person is enough. 4 against 3, a big advantage. Let's go, take me to meet Classy, and let's arrange a fight outside the city. We'll turn the world upside down. Yashin is burning with rage. Lita Wei was indeed right. If you don't completely defeat someone, they won't take you seriously. So let's just beat them down first, and then we can talk. The 3 successfully met Suzimomo. Suzimomo was an elderly-looking woman but dressed exceptionally fashionable, as if unwilling to let her beautiful youth slip away. Suzimomo, upon seeing the 3 level 7 mutants in front of her, couldn't help but feel a slight shock, despite her preparedness. She tried to maintain her composure. After hearing Yashan's intentions, she suddenly giggled and with a curious look in her eyes said, do you really have the confidence to take down those guys? Yashin stared at her and earnestly replied, of course. Suzimomo covered her mouth and chuckled, wrinkles accumulating on her face, makeup slightly smudged. She nodded and said, I have a way to have them all meet outside the city in 5 days. Whether you can successfully take them down is up to you. And I won't participate in this matter, it's 3 against 3. Hehehe. Yashin nodded, agreed. After setting the time and place, Yashin left with Mengchuan and Ash. 3 against 3, still an advantage. Mengchuan said, Yashin boss, it's turned into 3 against 3 now. Yashin replied, what's there to fear? You're not carrying a bunch of runes in vain, are you? Mengchuan felt reassured, touching the pile of level 2 runes in his embrace. After Yashin and his team departed, Suzimomo sat on her throne. The smile on her old face had vanished, replaced by a somber expression. At that moment, a young man with a cheerful smile approached from behind, placing his hand on Suzimomo's shoulder, speaking gently, my beautiful lady, why aren't you in a good mood today? Suzimomo coldly remarked, it's those people calling themselves the Temple Forest Association again, wanting to take over our Elephant Emperor city. This time, let's put an end to their ideas completely. She extended her withered hand, lifted the man's chin, and after planting a fierce kiss, she said with a menacing smile, how could I let them ruin such a good situation in our Elephant Emperor city? What do you think, my sweetie? The man nodded with a coquettish smile. Suzimomo continued, go and fetch Jigun, I have something to instruct him to do. 5 days later. A very open area outside the Elephant Emperor city. 6 people stand at a distance. Meng Chuan looked at the 3 formidable figures opposite, whispering, Boss Yashin, didn't the Temple Forest Alliance people say that these gang leaders are at odds with each other? But it seems like they're quite friendly. Yashin glanced at Meng Chuan, saying softly, Meng Chuan, don't get so close. Maintain your image. The aura before the battle is crucial, understand? Meng Chuan immediately straightened his posture, whispering, understood, Boss Yashin. Yashin glanced at the 3 unfriendly individuals opposite and slowly said, Mingzi Terry has a rather lethal ability, I'll deal with him. Meng Chuan, you go handle the fast Jings Khan. Ash, you deal with the immensely powerful Rongzi Qiangla. Pay attention, if Tsuzumomo appears, use the fire dragon to burn her. Meng Chuan said, but didn't Tsuzumomo say she wouldn't come? Yashin restrained the urge to slap Meng Chuan and said, if she said she wouldn't come, she won't come. Meng Chuan exclaimed, doesn't that make it 3 versus 4? Yashin calmly stated, even if it's 3 versus 4, we have the advantage. Trust me, I'll resolve the opponent as quickly as possible. Even if Tsuzumomo appears, there's no need to fear. With Yashan's reassurance, Meng Chuan felt relieved. He then turned to Ash and asked, Ash, don't you have anything to say? Ash remained silent for a moment and said, I'll follow Yashan's lead. Meanwhile, Su Hao in the pinball space observed through Yashin, watching the scene and lightly remarked, it seems it's about to get rough. Looks like the peaceful resolution is out of the question. While Yashin and the others strategized, the 3 level 7 foreign individuals from the Elephant Emperor city also engaged in fervent discussion. Jings Khan, like all members of the Spade People sequence, had a sturdy lower body and a thin upper body. He played with 2 short knives, asking, do you 2 wise leaders know the background of the 3 opponents? Terry, with wrinkled face, calmly replied, whether we know or not, it doesn't matter in my view. They are likely also level 7. If you 2 don't exert yourselves, it'll probably end with no one able to defeat the other, calling off the fight. You should understand the consequences. Khan chuckled, of course. If we don't manage to take them all out here, we'll probably face harassment from the Temple Forest Alliance in the future. If we succeed in killing them here, the Temple Forest Alliance will be ours. The burliest Rongzi Qiangla grunted loudly, why so much talk? Just charge and flatten them all. Khan glanced at Qiangla, silently calling him a muscle-headed idiot, then said, how do we split the opponents? Terry said, however you like. As Terry finished speaking, Qiangla transformed into a giant, striking toward Yashan's group. Khan whispered, idiot. Fearful of being heard by Qiangla, he turned around to avoid confrontation. Khan didn't mind and said, then however you want. They all believed that, facing any enemy, they might not necessarily win, but they were confident in putting up a good fight. With that, they suddenly disappeared from the spot. Ash led, diverting Qiangla to the right. After inscribing runes, Meng Chuan's life-sensing ability locked onto the Jing's S movement trajectory, instantly predicting a strike. Swish. The strike missed but confirmed the adversarial relationship. Both of them tacitly ran to the left. Only Yashin and Terry remained in place. Yashin and Terry both transformed into the Mingzi state. Terry exclaimed, you're also a child of fate. What a coincidence. Tien Mingzi equals child of fate. But upon seeing Yashan's armor, which was obviously several grades cooler than his own, his mood instantly plummeted, his voice turning rigid as he said, you're the guy who kept bothering me the other day. Today your life belongs to me. Yashin took a deep breath and remained silent, simply thinking to himself, can't be careless. Give it your all in the battle. Instantly, both of them activated flesh integration simultaneously, and the ground under their feet transformed into crystalline, rapidly expanding outward. Soon the 2 crystal forces clashed, not resulting in the intense explosion one might expect. Instead, under Mingzi Yashin, supported by his immense vitality, his overpowering aura devoured Mingzi Terry. Terry was stunned, his eyes wide in disbelief, exclaiming, what? Not only was the armor cooler than his, but how could the conversion of Mingzi energy be stronger than his own? No matter how Terry resisted, Mingzi Yashin didn't slow down in speed. It directly spread to Terry's feet, engulfing him within its range. What's more, Mingzi Yashin continued to expand outward, reaching a range of a kilometer. Terry immediately sensed the danger. He was an experienced Mingzi user with a conversion range limit of only 800 meters. But the flamboyant Mingzi in front of him effortlessly transformed within a 1,000-meter range, seemingly still at ease. Could his opponent be a fake Mingzi user? Terry heightened his vigilance, and the Mingzi surrounding him thickened. Upsteady T from N0/V/Elbin/Go/M. Yashin reached out, and the Mingzi around Terry rose, forming an immensely large spherical space, encasing him layer by layer. Creak, creak, creak. Within the Mingzi enclosure surrounding Terry, numerous densely packed spikes emerged, flashing with chilling light. Terry remained calm. These spikes definitely couldn't breach his Mingzi's defenses. Rotation. As Yashin twisted his wrist, the encased Mingzi around Terry began to rotate, faster and faster, resembling a high-speed saw, suddenly closing in on Terry in the center. Screech, screech, crackle, crackle. Accompanied by the harsh sounds, a large number of transparent Mingzi debris flew through the air. There were pieces from Yashin and pieces from Terry. Terry widened his eyes, filled with incredulity. A Mingzi could actually be used like this. How did he not know? The Mingzi outside his body was quickly worn away by the high-speed saw teeth, but Terry wasn't afraid because he could regenerate, and the rate of wear wasn't faster than his ability to regenerate. However, Terry's movements were restricted. Yashin strolled over to Terry. Through the transparent Mingzi, Terry saw Yashin outside and thought Yashin might say something, but he was mistaken. Second level lightning. Crackle. Terry convulsed all over, instantly losing control of his body, only his 2 bloodshot eyes staring wide open. Yashin condensed a spear in his hand. Second level penetration, second level hardening, second level oscillation, second level collapse. Several runic effects gleamed on the spearhead. Seeing Terry about to recover quickly, Yashin added a touch of second-level lightning. Crackle. Another thick electrical arc struck Terry's body, causing him to once again stiffen. Yashan's saw had already worn down the outer layer of Mingzi Terry. With a thrust, Yashan's spear tip instantly broke through Mingzi Terry defense and pierced into his body. Sizzle. Collapse and oscillation erupted successively. Meanwhile, Yashan's innate runic effect rotation also fiercely erupted. Gurgle. There was a strange muffled sound, much like fruit pulp being churned in a juicer. Splat. Then two blood-red liquid streams shot out from Terry's exposed eyes. Terry's neck slumped, collapsing softly. Yashin was perplexed. How? Is that it? I haven't even finished speaking. While observing from a distance, Su Hao also exclaimed, but was straightforward. The opponent possessing the vital force of life, child of fate, was easily killed by Yashan's accidental move, leaving Yashin feeling uneasy. Yashan's clear plan was to go all out, engage in 100 rounds with the opponent, and then, with a clever move, make them cry and beg for mercy on their knees. Afterward, he would step on the defeated opponent and solemnly spread the philosophy of the Innovation Century project. Unexpectedly, the opponent fell so easily. It's truly unworthy of the title Child of Fate. Hidden in the shadows, Momo the Xuzi was about to seize the opportunity to ambush Yashin when, surprisingly, Child of Fate Terry couldn't withstand a single round and belched. This scared her to the core, and she quickly retracted her hand halfway. This tall man is unexpectedly terrifying. It's better to retreat than to confront him. With that thought, Xuzi Momo gradually dissipated in the air, leaving no trace. Yashin then walked towards Jiang Xiash. Seeing Yashin leaving, Su Hao immediately sent a message to Yashan's consciousness through the small dark room. Yashin, help me collect some flesh and blood. This voice emerged from the depths of Yashan's mind, making him stunned and incredulous. Boss Wei. The battle quickly ended. The difference between 7th level mutants with runes and those without runes was like night and day. 7th level mutants, who were once difficult to kill, crumbled under the effects of 2nd level runes with no room for resistance. If there was, just strike them with a lightning bolt, or two if necessary. The three gathered again, and Meng Chuan proudly said, Yashin, these 7th level mutants seem odd. It's too easy. They just lie down and don't move after being shocked a few times. We worried for nothing all these days. Until now, Meng Chuan still felt a sense of unreality. If all 7th level mutants were like this, what had the Temple of Forest been preparing for all these years? Wouldn't it be better to come over earlier? Yashin was momentarily speechless. It wasn't that 7th level mutants were too weak, it was that the runes they possessed were too powerful. For these mutants who gained strength through life evolution, the existence of runes was an overpowering force. Finding the correct way to use them was, to some extent, unbeatable. In Yashan's mind, the figure of Boss Wei flashed again. His Boss Wei was undoubtedly the god standing at the top of this world. A god in every sense of the word. Meng Chuan glanced vaguely at the sky and asked, what do we do next? Yashin said, take the 3 bodies and go back to the Elephant Emperor City to find Tsushimomo. Ash's sleeves emitted dense threads, wrapping the 3 bodies into cocoons, hanging them in mid-air. Then Yashin slowly walked back to the Emperor City. Momo the Xuzi, floating not far away, was frightened to hear that these 3 killers were looking for her. She had no confidence in winning against them. She immediately wanted to retreat to the Elephant Emperor City, but wouldn't that be walking into a trap? After some thought, Xuzi Momo gritted her teeth and thought, no, absolutely can't go back. Who knows if these 3 will kill me without a second thought. Besides, it's been 5 days already, and the people I contacted should be arriving soon. I'll personally go to meet them. As the influence of the Temple of Forest continued to expand, the pressure on other major cities increased. In their eyes, the Temple of Forest was merely pretending to form alliances, aiming to absorb all major cities. Why would they willingly hand over their power? But they couldn't resist the overwhelming force of the Temple of Forest, and cultivating new 7th level power was both difficult and risky. Who knew if those they nurtured would turn out to be ungrateful? So 2 years ago, the 7th level mutants of various major cities secretly formed the Anti-Temple Alliance. Their main purpose was to collectively resist the Temple of Forest's absorption and preserve themselves. They weren't foolish. If they just watched from the sidelines, sooner or later they would be targeted, and everyone would be gradually absorbed by the Temple of Forest. After Xuzi Momo moved away, Meng Chuan whispered to Yashin, Yashin, she's gone. After a moment of contemplation, Yashin said indifferently, did they unite? In that case, let's slowly return to Huxian. She's probably seeking help from others, let them wait. Meng Chuan was shocked. Yashin, not counting the Elephant Emperor City, there are nearly 27th level mutants in the other major cities combined. Shouldn't we retreat first? Even with runes, it's impossible to handle 6 or 7 at once. Yashin coldly said, perfect timing. Let's take them all out in one go. These people have proven not to be allies of our Temple of Forest. 2 days later, Yashin, Meng Chuan, and Ash looked at the 60 or 70 people surrounding them from a distance, making their scalps tingle. Yashin roared in a low voice, Meng Chuan, didn't you say there were less than 20 people? Meng Chuan, sweating profusely, whispered, Yashin, I didn't expect them to be so insane, bringing even 6th level mutants. Yashin viciously said, note it down in the intelligence department, give them all half a year's salary deduction when we return. Me/W novel chapters are published on no/vel/bingo/m. Meng Chuan asked Yashin, what should we do now? 1 or 2 6th level mutants are nothing, but once it reaches more than 5, we might not even be able to handle 7th level mutants. There are too many people now. Ash calmly said, I can control the 6th level mutants, but leave the 7th level ones to both of you. Yashin and Meng Chuan exclaimed in unison, dream on. Meng Chuan suggested, Yashin, let's use your luxury aircraft to escape. Yashin clenched his fist and resolutely said, I have a way to take them all down. Listen, all we need to do now is delay as much as possible. Don't confront them head on, save our lives and head towards the direction of the Temple of Forest City while fighting. Meng Chuan suddenly looked admiring. Yashin, you truly deserve to be our leader. You can counterattack even in such a dire situation. As soon as he finished speaking, Yashin shouted, is Boss Wei here? Calling Boss Wei. Yashin requests support. Boss Wei. Meng Chuan. Ash. Soon, the 60 or 70 people on the opposite side began to move. Some disappeared on the spot, some flew into the sky, some burrowed underground, some transformed into giants, various shapes and sizes. A major battle was about to unfold. Yashin immediately shouted, the three of us mustn't separate, cover each other. Fly up into the sky first. Having said that, they leapt into the air and flew towards the sky. Ash's threads wrapped around Yashin, lifting him into the high altitude. Meng Chuan quickly soared into the sky, closely following behind Yashin. Once in the sky, the enemies immediately decreased by more than half. Only around 20 individuals with flying capabilities approached the three. Momo was captivated by the previous battles of Yashin and the others, hesitating to get close. After flying into the sky with the main force, she stayed within the crowd, shouting joyfully, it's them. Definitely the 7th level mutants of the so-called Temple of Forest. As long as we take them down, everything will end. Hurry, rush up and surround them. Why don't I see Mingzi using his most powerful space claw? And Quanzi. Hurry up and entangle them, use your technique of flesh and blood erosion, devour their flesh and blood. Old lady, shut up. Everyone couldn't stand her noise and shouted in unison. As Su Hao anticipated, the alliance of 7th level mutants from various major cities had indeed occurred. But since it was an expected event, Su Hao was well prepared, just finish it. It's my turn. Su Hao put down what he was doing, pushed open the door of the laboratory, walked slowly into the courtyard and with a leap ascended 100 meters. Simultaneously he transformed into Child of Fate, his feet erupted, flying towards a distant place. The distance between Temple of Forest City and Emperor City was far, but in Su Hao's highest speed flight state, it would only take about 5 hours. In other words, Yashin and the others only needed to endure for 6 hours in the midst of the siege of 60 or 70 people. Whether they could endure it or not was uncertain. However, considering that the three of them carried a large number of runes, they shouldn't be so weak. They should be able to hold on for some time. With a smooth figure cutting through the air in rapid flight, Su Hao silently thought this time, giving it my all, let's see where my limits lie. Boss Yashin. Can Boss Wei really hear your call? Will Boss Wei really come to save us? At this moment, Meng Chuan is covered in blood, and Child of Clarity's once smooth fur is now pockmarked, stained red with blood, still dripping with fresh blood. Meng Chuan is reaching his limit, the high-intensity battle rapidly depletes his vitality. His life force is nowhere near that of Yashin, a master warrior. Even using a healing rune to stop bleeding is a luxury he can't afford. Seeing Meng Chuan's pitiful state, Yashin casually throws a healing rune on him, stops the bleeding, and says, what's the rush? Whether Boss Wei can hear me or not, I know. Just wait. You won't die. Yashin looks unaffected overall, thanks to the formidable vitality of Child of Fate. Despite severe injuries, it can recover to its original state, albeit at the cost of blood and energy. After advancing to a master, Yashin's blood and energy undergo a qualitative change, making the quantity less of a concern. He looks at Ash beneath him and asks, Ash, can you still hold on? Ash, pale under the high collar, nods and replies yes. Meng Chuan adds, Boss Yashin, they are catching up again. Yashin glances back, his diamond armor changing shape. Yashin adjusts his body, holds the big spear in his hand, loads a standard bullet, aims at the pursuers, including Mingzi of the Nightwalker sequence, Quanzi of the Mimic sequence, and Suzy of the Speed People sequence, with an old acquaintance Momo. As for the level 6 mutants, Yashin and his companions took the opportunity to assassinate them in previous battles. The remaining ones are all stubborn level 7 mutants. Seeing Yashin aiming the gun at them, the 6 level 7 mutants immediately start irregular movements. Suzy and Quanzi even directly disperse their figures, disappearing. Yashin aims at one Mingzi and fires. Boom. After a loud noise, nothing happens. Yashin awkwardly smiles, bad feeling today, missed the shot. Let's quickly fly and shake them off. His diamond armor immediately changes shape, extending a diamond arm to wrap around Meng Chuan. With a sudden burst of speed, they quickly leave the 6 level 7 mutants behind. Yashin and his team tried using the 2nd level lightning rune to assassinate the opponents, but they could only trigger one lightning bolt each time, paralyzing 3 people. Before they could follow up, the others attacked. Even Yashin's thick diamond armor couldn't withstand Mingzi's claws without risk. A few seconds later, the paralyzed level 7 mutants regained their mobility. The crucial point is that through previous battles, the opponents have figured out their tactics, making it challenging to find opportunities for a fatal attack on Yashin. It won't be easy to kill the remaining level 7 mutants behind them anytime soon. So after getting through the intense early battles and eliminating the level 6 mutants, Yashin, with the enemies still in the sky, circles around searching for an opportunity. Not only are there enemies in the sky, but there are also over 40 mutants waiting on the ground. They eagerly look up, anticipating when those 3 would no longer endure and fall from the sky. Having followed closely for half a day, they've already planned how to rush up and dismantle them once Yashin and the others fall. Unable to fly, they complain, what are those Mingzi, Suzy and Quanzi eating? It's been so long, and they haven't caught anyone. That's right. If I knew they were this useless, I wouldn't have agreed to join forces with them. Waiting like this isn't a solution. Indeed, if they just fly away, we've wasted our time today. The Temple Forest will learn their lesson, and we won't have such a good opportunity again. Don't worry. They've used up their energy, they can't hold on much longer. As long as we keep an eye on them. Nonsense, you said that a long time ago. Why are they still flying fine now? Do you have a solution? Fly up yourself then. Listen to me, everyone. From the beginning, they've been leading us in circles, slowly heading east, as if deliberately teasing us to follow. There might be a trick. Ha ha ha. Upon hearing this, the group burst into laughter. A trick? Ha ha ha. So many of us, how could there be a trick? I'll read latest chapters at n/OVELBinco/m. The funniest joke I've heard this year. The person who raised the question thinks better of it and doesn't say anything more. After a while, the sharp-eyed Meng Chuan suddenly points to the distance and says, Boss Yashin, look quickly, what is that? A small black dot appears in the sky in the distance, barely visible without careful observation. Yashin blurts out, Boss Wei. Meng Chuan and Ash can't help but ask Boss Wei. Then Meng Chuan's eyes light up and he can't help but shout, Boss Wei, we've finally been looking forward to your arrival. If you don't come, we'll be torn to pieces by the people below. Yashin scolds Meng Chuan, what's with the shouting? There are people watching below. Maintain your composure. Both parties are flying at an extremely fast speed, and in an instant, Suha's figure is right in front of them, but without saying anything, he passes by Yashin and the others. Whoosh boom. A massive shockwave shakes Yashin and the others in the high sky. The three of them simultaneously turn their heads to look. They see that the sky is now covered with densely packed crystal sand, which has somehow encompassed the entire field of view, spreading out to an unknown distance. Yashin immediately recognizes it as Boss Wei's unique skill, the golden sand. As Boss Wei rapidly approaches the 6 level 7 mutants, the crystal sand undergoes a transformation, gathering together to form one rune array after another. Yashin takes a glance and recognizes them as the 2nd level lightning and 2nd level fire dragon runes. The 6 level 7 mutants, including Suzy Momo and others chasing behind Yashin, immediately become more vigilant at the sudden appearance of this new enemy. What is this? They see the sky covered with crystal sand, and although they are puzzled, they sense danger. They each use their own life-saving skills, executing fancy dodges and evasions. Suzy and Quanzi disperse and become elusive, while Mingzi displays various graceful maneuvers in midair, making it difficult to predict. However, no matter how they evade, it is meaningless to Su Hao. A surge of ancient blood engulfs the entire sky in an instant. The fire dragon Thunder Domain. With Suha's intent within a radius of 3,000 meters centered around him, apart from the airspace occupied by Yashin and others, a fierce blaze and lightning burst forth. The crackling sound of lightning and the roaring flames combine into a deafening noise. Boom boom boom. Like an immensely huge fireball. Interwoven with ferocious electric serpents raging within the spherical range. Dazzling light bursts forth, followed by the expansion of the spherical area, visibly red flames rolling outward. Whoosh. The incessant sound rolls far away from the massive fireball. Everyone who witnesses it unconsciously widens their eyes, their mouths hanging open in astonishment. A face full of disbelief. What is this? The activated fire dragon Thunder Domain sparks and electric light rampage. Su Hao wasted no time, he changed direction, surged forward, and instantly arrived next to the stiff and burnt Mingzi, thrusting a dagger generated at hand into the neck. Splurt. Following closely, a dense array of diamond spikes emerged from Mingzi's body, turning him into a hedgehog immobile. Su Hao's figure didn't stop, turning to another Mingzi, repeating the process, impaling both level 7 Mingzi together. Casually pulling out a vial of reagent, Su Hao injected each Mingzi. In just 2 breaths, both Mingzi lost consciousness. Su Hao loosened his grip, and the 2 Mingzi freely fell from the high altitude. As for the remaining Suzy and Quanzi, the cells scattered in the airspace were almost burned away in the eruption of the fire dragon Thunder Domain. Now they reverted to their original forms, barely falling down, not yet reaching the ground. Su Hao descended, administered a shot to each one, and all of them lost consciousness moments later. Bang bang bang. 6 bodies successively thudded heavily on the ground, emitting a peculiar muffled sound. With 1 fire dragon Thunder Domain, 6 level 7 mutants were wiped out in an instant. At this moment, the 40 plus level 6 and level 7 mutants on the ground were all dumbfounded. They stopped, raised their heads, eyes fixed on the Hansen, armor freely shuttling through the sky, adopting an appearance of facing a formidable enemy. The enormous fireball pressing upon them in the sky had gradually disappeared, and the figure in the armor became clear. Finally, someone couldn't help but ask, what was that just now? However, no one answered because no one knew. The people present were among the highest echelons in this world, with the broadest and most diverse experiences, but none could explain what had just happened. This scene exceeded their realm of understanding. A sense of unease began to brew in their hearts. The people above must be from the Temple Forest Association, but what exactly is this Temple Forest Association? At this moment, someone asked, our unsettling speculation, was that a god? This speculation was immediately refuted. A god is just a boring legend. How could there really be God? At your age, don't you understand this? Saying this, even he wasn't sure if the armored figure above was the legendary god. But whether the other party was a god or not, military discipline couldn't be disrupted at this moment. But I've lived for quite some time, and I've never seen such a scene. Don't even dare to think about it, let alone seeing it. At this point, someone began to have a sense of retreat. Those who could reach level 6 or 7 were not fools. They also cherished the strength and status they had gained so hard. Once dead, there would be nothing left. However, at this moment, someone stepped forward to inspire the others. Don't be afraid. We still have over a dozen level 7s and 30 level 6 mutants here. If we work together, we can defeat him. Some will distract, while others look for opportunities to strike a heavy blow. That's right. After defeating him, each of us can share a piece of flesh. As long as he dares to come, I can smash him with one punch. However, everyone subconsciously ignored the fact that none of them could fly, making them powerless against Su Hao flying in the sky. For Su Hao, hovering in the sky was like offering himself as a lamb for slaughter. Yet, Su Hao obviously didn't want to drop bombs from the sky, the efficiency was too low. Because if they didn't die from the explosion, he would still have to harvest them everywhere. It was better to take advantage of their relatively concentrated positions and sweep them away in one go. Bang! Su Hao landed on the ground, his feet heavily stomping, and the transparent diamond armor with him as the center, rapidly spread out in all directions. In just a moment, it expanded to a range of over 3,000 meters, encompassing everyone. Then, a large number of circular pattern engravings were completed. Of course, during this process, some tried to seize the land use rights, but without exception, Su Hao's massive blood energy broke through all their attempts. It was only at this moment that all the level 6 and level 7 mutants realized the severity of the situation. He's a level 7 child of fate. Oh no. We've entered the child PF test domain. Run quickly. Everyone knew that child of fate had a deadly ability, decay. It could use life as a cost to make all creatures within the domain decay and die, and no one could resist it. Now they had stepped into the child of fate test domain, meaning that as long as this incredibly powerful child of fate was willing to sacrifice lifespan, he could wipe them all out in one go. Don't be afraid. With such a large range, it takes time for him to initiate decay. Run quickly, and we still have a chance. Everyone scattered in panic, fleeing beyond Su Hao's domain. However, everyone guessed wrong. Su Hao wasn't initiating decay, but rather thunder domain. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of thunder echoed continuously, turning the 3,000-meter radius into an ocean of lightning. No one could escape. They were all struck down by lightning on the spot. The Jings who were faster, about 1,000 meters away from the edge of the domain, were electrocuted and fell to the ground. Soon a massive and incredibly hard diamond armor rose from under their feet, tightly enveloping them, forming a colossal crystal monument over 30 meters high. Then sharp diamond spikes emerged from the inside, piercing their bodies densely, fixing them firmly in the crystal monument, like insects sealed in amber. Crack, crack, crack. Unexpectedly, 3 of the crystal monuments emitted cracking sounds. Su Hao looked toward the sound and saw 3 giants, each 20 meters tall, with dark red skin emitting a peculiar luster, and the inner diamond spikes couldn't penetrate their skin. Is Romsey from Strong People sequence? Pretty impressive. Su Hao said, waving his hand. More diamond armor rose from around the 3 of them. As they broke free from the crystal monuments, Su Hao firmly enclosed them again. But it wasn't over. Inscriptions began to appear on the crystal monuments surrounding them. Penetrate. As the runes activated, a large number of diamond spikes protruded from the inside of the crystal monument, piercing the bodies of the 3 Romsey th.e. Most up-to-date novels are published on N0VLJN.co/m. Ah. Painful roars echoed out. After being pierced by the diamond spikes, they had no strength left to struggle. Hardening. The entire inscription covered them again, and the 3 giant Romsey remained motionless. Through the transparent diamond armor, their angry gazes could vaguely be seen directed at Su Hao. However, the angry glares were of no use. Everything was settled, and their fate was sealed, ready to be slaughtered. Yashin, along with Meng Chuan and Dash, walked slowly behind Su Hao. At this moment, all 3 of them wore expressions of confusion. What just happened? In the blink of an eye, Boss Wei had taken down everyone. They hadn't even had a chance to greet Boss Wei. It could only be said that Boss Wei's strength exceeded the understanding of the 3 of them. A thought involuntarily emerged in their minds. Could one person really reach such a level? Yashin still wore an expression of disbelief, opening his mouth to say Boss Wei this. In fact, Yashin didn't know what to say. He just felt that Boss Wei's figure was truly majestic, like a god. And this was their recognized leader. Meng Chuan and Dash indeed couldn't snap out of it for a long time. It was as if the perfect world constructed by their brains had been shattered by Boss Wei, making it difficult for them to organize their chaotic thoughts for a while. It wasn't until the image of Huang City Square and the colossal statue of the Genesis God above the Genesis Temple surfaced in their minds that all their thoughts, like finding a center, began to connect and form a new worldview with the statue of the Genesis God as the focal point. The Genesis God Boss Wei is invincible, omnipotent. With this understanding, everything made sense. After Yashin slightly calmed his emotions, he directly asked Boss Wei, should we kill these people directly? Su Hao thought for a moment and said, it depends on the intention of your Temple Forest Association. If you want to use them, they still have some usefulness. If you find it troublesome, you can kill them all. Yashin was puzzled. What do you mean? Su Hao said, these people have strong abilities and enough prestige in various cities. If you can use them, it might speed up the establishment of the other 7 Super Beast Zones. Most importantly, once the 8 Beast Zones are established, there will inevitably be a need for someone to guard them around the clock to prevent any accidents. To be honest, with the talent of your Temple Forest Association alone, it's far from enough. Su Hao pointed to the massive crystal monuments ahead, saying, and these powerful mutants right in front of you are just right for the job. Yashin nodded, agreeing with Boss Wei's words, but still had a doubt. Boss Wei, will they obediently listen? Su Hao revealed a mysterious smile. Of course, nothing is impossible. After injecting every mutant with the mutant dormancy serum, Su Hao sent them all to Yashin to be taken to the experimental base in Temple Forest City. Su Hao had 3 purposes for these mutants. 1. Experimentation and gene information collection. 2. Rapid integration of all the power in 7 cities to build the super mutant zone and accelerate the pace of transformation. 3. Dispatch them to guard various super mutant zones, becoming the guardians of those zones. Su Hao's plan involved implanting a gene virus to targeting fragment into these mutants, making them like the mutants in the super mutant zone, unable to leave or even approach the zone's edge. The super mutant zone became their prison. These mutants, aged between 60s and 70s, would soon pass away in another 5 or 6 decades, creating no significant waves. However, things couldn't be rushed. To make them obedient, Suhai needed to get close to them at the experimental base. At this moment, the overall development trend of this world had become relatively fixed, and there were no more obstacles ahead. First, Suhai sequentially implanted gene fragments attacking with gene toxin 2. Next, he designed a gene fragment capable of synthesizing extraordinary gene inhibitor protein and implanted it in them. This gene's function was simple: continuously produce the extraordinary gene inhibitor protein. When the protein reached a certain concentration, it would suppress and seal the mutant's extraordinary abilities, turning them into a powerful but ordinary person. This was Suhai's means of controlling these mutants. The inhibitory protein accumulated slowly, reaching sufficient density after 1 month. In other words, if a 7th-level mutant didn't receive the inhibitor clearing agent provided by Suhai after a month, they would become a powerful but ordinary person. For obedient ones, Suhai distributed the clearing agent every month. For disobedient ones, he didn't need to intervene personally. Stopping the supply of the clearing agent would make them prey for the powerful mutants in the supermutant zone, just like the life and death symbols used by Tiantian Tongla. And this technique of Suhai's might not be deciphered by them even after several hundred years. This was a dimensional reduction attack. For them, this was an incomprehensible method. Finally, Suhai put corresponding restraints on them and woke them all up. Upon waking, everyone instinctively tried to resist and break free, but they all realized that their powerful abilities had disappeared. It was like turning on a light, where the light and electricity were present, but the switch was nowhere to be found. It was a peculiar sensation, causing everyone to feel a suffocating urge to spit out blood. Things hadn't been going well during this period outside. It should be said that ever since the inexplicable emergence of the Temple Forest Society, things had started going downhill for them. Unable to break free, the group began observing their surroundings and saw Suhai standing quietly observing them. Handsome, mature, with a gentle expression but cold eyes. A burly man roared, "Hey, kid over there, hurry up and help Grandpa undo this." Suhai recognized him as one of the 3 Rongzi, exceptionally powerful in physical strength. Not everyone was as reckless as the Rongzi. Most, upon seeing their own state and Suhai's relaxed demeanor, immediately understood their situation. Their brains quickly worked. Where is this? Who captured them? Why were they captured? How to escape? Silence. No answers. Suhai remained silent until everyone settled down, then slowly spoke, revealing their predicament. First, I've planted a toxin in you, rendering your mutant abilities useless. Essentially, I've deprived you of your strength. The antidote is in my hands. With it, you can regain your power. However, it's not absolute. 1 month later, the poison will act again, and you'll lose your strength once more. In other words, every month, if you don't get my antidote, you'll be as weak as you are now. As Suhai finished speaking, the burly Rongzi erupted, shouting, trying to threaten Grandpa. Go to hell. Spit. Cheat the latest novels on no/v/elben/c/ohm. Suhai extended his hand, forming a long knife, and walked slowly forward. Swish. Splurt. Blood sprayed high, a head rolled on the ground, and the Rongzi stared angrily until death. Everyone watched with a chilling spine. The powerful 7th-level mutant Rongzi had died so easily. Boss. A 6th-level mutant saw his boss decapitated, struggled excitedly, and glared fiercely at Suhai. Bastard, come at me. Swish. The blade flashed. Splurt. A head soared and fell to the ground, rolling next to his boss, both dead. Everyone widened their eyes, afraid to move, looking at Suhai in terror. At this moment, Suhai spoke slowly. While I'm still talking, I don't like being interrupted. With a swing, he flicked the blood off the knife, and the blade dissolved and disappeared. Suhai seemed to remember something. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Wei, the god of Genesis of the Temple Forest Society. Hiss. Everyone collectively gasped. The name of the god of Genesis, Wei, had been widely known in recent years. They knew this was the deity worshipped by the Temple Forest Society, a status surpassing even the common deity of the Juhua people, the great god Ju. Unexpectedly, an immensely powerful deity stood before them. No wonder a group of 7th-level mutants was utterly powerless. It turns out we were defeated by a god. The realization that they were defeated by a deity somewhat eased their minds. This was embarrassing. Following this was confusion. Is there really a god in this world? The person before them, despite appearing excessively young, didn't seem like a god. However, the undeniable strength that instantly defeated them couldn't be fake. Observing the quiet scene, Suhai expressed satisfaction. It seems you still have basic manners, willing to let me finish speaking. Suhai extended 2 fingers. Secondly, you are now my prisoners and need to work for me. I don't want your lives unless you don't want to live. What I need you to do is simple. Go back to your respective cities, announce your affiliation with the Temple Forest Society, and cooperate in completing organizational restructuring. Pausing, Suhai continued. Each of you has only 1 month. If after a month you can't give me a satisfactory answer, you won't be able to get the antidote from me. Once you become an ordinary person, you won't need me to intervene. Your subordinates will tear you into pieces and devour you. Suhai revealed a mysterious smile. Whether it's true or not, you can boldly try. Failure means certain death. Suhai extended a 3rd finger. Thirdly, after dealing with matters in your own city, you need to enter the supermutant zone for guard duty as a zone guardian. Your job is to protect the mutant zone from destruction. There will be detailed instructions later. Friendly reminder, don't think about running out of the mutant zone because you'll inexplicably die. Seeing everyone looking perplexed, Suhai, in a thoughtful gesture, distributed a small booklet to each person, saying, follow what the booklet says. Afterwards, Suhai waved his hand, releasing everyone. The freed individuals didn't make any rash moves. Instead, they watched Suhai with suspicion, the mysterious man crowned with the title of the god of Genesis. Because they knew act and you die, observe quietly, and you might live. Suhai took out a small bottle, saying, this is the antidote. Just 1 pill, and you'll regain your strength, but it only lasts for a month. Please cherish the time. After distributing the antidote, Suha pointed to the door. All right, you can go now. Return here within 30 days to collect the second batch of antidotes. Dozens of people were stunned. You're letting us go just like that? A huge doubt arose in their minds, along with a surreal feeling. But they were all shrewd individuals, refraining from asking silly questions exemplified by the guy whose head had rolled to the side. Silently, the group left Suha's experimental base. Outside the city, they faced an awkward question: to take the antidote or not? Who should take it first? If someone recovers first, will they take advantage and eliminate everyone? If they all take it together and it's poisonous, will they all die together? After connecting with Yashin, Suha no longer paid attention to these extraordinary individuals. The reason is simple: if the task is completed, everything is fine. If not, in just a month, the other party will lose the power of the extraordinary individuals again, and there won't be any big waves. The final result will not change. After completing these tasks, Suha once again immersed himself in the laboratory, continuously recording the consciousness information of the small round mouse, then erasing it, recording again, and erasing again. Trying various experiments. In the end, Suha could even completely take control of the small round mouse's body. The principle is simple: just import pre-edited special brainwave signals into the consciousness information of the small round mouse, replacing its original brainwave signals. The replacement process is not complicated, it only requires transmitting brainwave signals strong enough to override the original signals of the small round mouse, achieving remote control. The success of the small round mouse experiment made Suha realize the functions that the ball space could achieve. 1. Freely record and erase consciousness. 2. Ultra-long range exploration. Here, ultra-long range can ignore spatial distance, meaning that as long as Suha records the consciousness of various world creatures, he can simultaneously see information from different worlds. 3. Can remotely transmit information to the person whose consciousness information is recorded. 4. To some extent, take over the body of the person whose consciousness information is recorded. It can also ignore spatial distance. 5. Can create a small city composed of small black rooms, providing an outlet for the consciousness locked in the small black rooms, but currently, this is not useful. 6. Consciousness will grow with the acquisition of useful information and the addition of rules, but growth limits are restricted by the physical body. Suha looked at the organized information, slowly contemplating how to maximize the effects of the ball space to quickly help him improve his strength. Sitting in the study chair of the ball space, Suha took out a notebook, a pen mysteriously appearing in his hand, and began to write and draw, organizing his thoughts. Firstly, what I desire most is to gain more knowledge, explore the mysteries of the universe, and preferably stay alive to witness the scenery and magnificence of various worlds until eternity or the end of the universe. Secondly, the way I acquire knowledge is not determined by me, but depends on where the ball space takes me. I can only excavate useful knowledge from the worlds I visit. Finally, to smoothly learn and acquire knowledge, what I need most is a significant amount of time. In summary, due to unknown reasons, there will be a fatal threat around 3 to 6 years old, and another one at 15 to 18 years old, possibly more in the future. However, as my strength increases, this threat becomes faint and negligible. So, I need to ensure my survival in each world as much as possible, while quickly learning the core knowledge of that world. After roughly organizing the information, Suha flipped the paper and continued writing and drawing. Since the purpose is clear, the methods come out. Firstly, continuously perfect the small black room until it is impenetrable. This task takes precedence and should be vigilant at all times because as long as the ball space is still mine, I have more opportunities, otherwise everything is lost. Secondly, make every effort to learn, absorb useful knowledge, and develop in all aspects. Strengthen my consciousness while finding a way to build a perfect body that can infinitely strengthen my body and consciousness. However, currently it seems unrealistic to speed up my learning. But simple attempts can be made now, such as the function of the eye of the world. Thirdly, use the function of the small black room to cultivate 1 or 2 long-term assistants, who can be used for experiments at critical moments or try dangerous activities, avoiding direct risks. Then he continued writing. Fourth, try to find a way to leave the coordinates of the world. After leaving this world, I actually want to know how this world will develop in the future. Maybe I can find a way back in the future. Anything is possible. When Suha organized everything, he wrote the last line on the paper with a pen. Small black room. Perfect body. Eye of the world. Long-term assistant. Positioning universal coordinates. 2 years passed in a hurry, and Suha turned 33. During these 2 years, he accomplished 3 things. Firstly, he delved into perfecting the permissions function of the small black room. He had made the small black room incredibly secure, personally testing it, and no matter what he tried, he couldn't break through. This did not put Suha at ease. He understood that it was only unsolvable based on his existing knowledge. For someone with higher knowledge, it might not be unsolvable. Secondly, he explored the idea of the eye of the world and made an attempt, theoretically succeeding. The method was simple. It could be accomplished through the permissions of the small black room. Your favorite novels at n/ovl/bing.com. Suha first recorded the consciousness information of Yashan's son Heli. In doing so, Heli became Suha's eye of the world. When Heli's descendants were born, the small black room automatically sent a message to Heli, requiring him to inject his vitality into the child's entire brain when the child was 1 year old, recording the child's consciousness information. In this way, the eye of the world was passed down. Suha named the process of inputting vitality as wisdom inheritance of the god of Genesis. After Heli's death, the small black room would automatically delete Heli's consciousness information, and so on. As for when this eye of the world would suddenly cut off, it was beyond Suha's control. To control the risk, Suha only recorded Heli. Thirdly, progress was made towards the perfect body. Suha focused his attention on the integration of the 8 extraordinary sequences, particularly the god. After 2 years of adjustment, the success rate of evolving into a god had reached 99.9%. In other words, Suha evolving into the legendary god was almost a certain event. Su Hao exited the ball space, stood up and stretched, muttering to himself, I wonder if this so-called God can help me break through the constraints of the physical and mental aspects again. In theory, the limits of the body can be surpassed, but the mental aspect is uncertain. Su Hao could have evolved into a god long ago, but because there was no precedent to refer to, it was a very dangerous thing for him. Moreover, after countless generations, Ju Human had many level 7 extraordinary individuals, but none had truly evolved into the legendary god. Su Hao took a long breath, no rush. First, explore every corner of this world thoroughly, there might be unexpected gains regarding the god. Thinking about it, Su Hao immediately transmitted a message to Yashin through the small black room. Yashin, I'm going on a trip, and I don't know when I'll be back. If you need me, just shout call for Boss Wei, and I'll be able to hear it. Yashin, who was inspecting the 8 super beast zones, suddenly paused, then immediately replied, understood, Boss Wei. The group of people following him looked at Yashin inexplicably. They couldn't help but wonder, did Boss Wei just talk to Yashin, boss? Why didn't we hear it? On the side, Meng Chuan looked admiringly. Indeed, he is the god of Genesis, Boss Wei. Truly omnipotent V.